Hey everybody, welcome to the post show for your latest Voyager episode, which was called Concerning Flight. I haven't quit yet. I'm still here. We'll see what the night brings. Not the night brings us. Anyway, Clay, we're going to talk about. I have two topics.
Ninja Turtles.
I have two topics. We could talk about Ninja Turtles, although I think I've run out of things to say about the Ninja Turtles. Actually, let me see. Where's the Discord here? So as you guys know, this is a little post show we do after every single podcast where we get together and talk. The feedback on these post show things has been pretty positive, Clay. So we have to keep them up. Kyle had a joke topic here, but I'm going to open with it. What's our policy on lunch? Per the Simpsons.
A concept?
Per the Simpsons. Just respond to that how you will. What's your policy on lunch? Is lunch your favorite meal of the day?
It depends. If I'm at home, I prefer a lunch that I can. I'm bad at lunch at home because I tend to have a fairly languid breakfast, and so when I'd say that's probably my favorite meal of the day when I'm at home.
Breakfast.
And then, by the time it's lunchtime, I'm kind of in the middle of stuff, so I'd rather something that I can do like quick and easy, which usually means that I tend to not eat something substantial. So I'm pretty bad at lunch. Anytime I go shopping, I buy breakfast stuff, I buy dinner stuff, but I never buy lunch stuff.
Yeah, you just kind of get through the middle. I've fallen real hard into peanut butter and jelly, which is really all started just from I read an article that was talking about the best way to have lunch or whatever it was, or the foods that are good for you and foods that are bad for you. And the peanut butter and jelly sandwich on whole grain bread came out their number one best thing you can eat in the middle of the day. I was like, I'll try this. I'll give it a swing. And also, I don't know what was wrong with me as a kid. I used to hate jelly on peanut butter, and I don't know what I was talking about, quite frankly, because peanut butter and jelly is just a fantastic combination. But I eat that probably 5 out of the 7 lunches, I think, is peanut butter and jelly for me. So
how's your blood sugar levels?
We'll see which kills me first, Voyager or peanut butter.
If I'm out somewhere though, if I'm at a convention or no, I like lunch out.
Yes,
much more than I like it at home. I am a big fan of going and getting a sandwich or something.
I would rather have lunch out than dinner out, I think. In some ways,
interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
I like the restaurant experience in the middle of the day. I think.
Okay.
Did if I could improve, I have my New Year's resolutions. They're all set already, but I probably should have done one. I always wish I was better at meals stuff. I have a very lackadaisical breakfast approach, and I wish it was better. I wish I had a stronger drive in the morning because it doesn't even take time. Just scrambled eggs with spinach and mushrooms. It takes 2 minutes, and it's it sets you right for the day, and it's good for you. But for some reason, I can't. I'm just give me a bowl of cereal. It's I don't. But it's just so lazy. But I wish I could improve that. It would be the one thing I would try to do. I would try to improve my breakfast and lunch intake.
Yeah, I've never been. The one thing I've always thought that I would need to do to actually have a lunch that's worth eating is meal prep type stuff which I've never been able to do that. I've never really been interested in doing that. I don't know.
No, we try to do. We get leftovers for the second day. That's pretty much the extent of it. But you get to a certain point where you're meal planning and you feel like you're buying 10 pounds of meatballs to make for the week, and it's this is an incredible amount of meat that we're buying, and you didn't get tired of meatballs.
The thing that blows me away is the ability to constantly make full meals for a family of 5 like you have, because I'm cooking for 2 people at my house, and if it takes me more than 45 minutes, I can't do it. I don't have the time.
How many meals do you have in your dinner time rotation? Do you say? We have a very small rotation.
I used to have a bigger rotation. Well, we've been doing like the HelloFresh meal box thing for a very long time.
Yep.
So that keeps things kind of interesting. When I remember to pick the meals, when I don't, things get very boring. But I would say outside of that, I've got like I don't know, 5 or 6 things that I can shuffle through. It's it's tough because I like making new stuff, but I hate going shopping for one thing.
The spices kill you.
That's the fucking worst.
I love Asian food, but I can't buy an entire $300 rack of spices to get this stuff off the ground. Yeah.
I've got an entire full bottle of like crushed mustard seed powder or something that I used
One
like
recipe.
half a teaspoon of 5 years ago.
We had to buy saffron once, and it's because saffron is so expensive, and it's like now I just have $50 worth of saffron in a little jar, and I used a half of a teaspoon.
Yeah. So yeah, when I go shopping, I tend to go shopping for like things that I know that I can just use to make whatever instead of specifically shop. Every now and then I'll do it if I want to try making something new, but I hate sitting down and being like, all right, well, let me find a recipe and then find the shit that I need for the recipe. The efficiency of just kind of knowing what I need and going and getting it is much preferred.
Yeah, we probably have 5 meals that we just rotate through and keep things. Do a lot of grilling. Just grill a chicken. Have it with rice or something like that. Fairly effective, but not particularly exciting. But yeah, dinner's the reliable, but lunch is always the wild card, unfortunately.
I had been wanting to try more stuff because I just got an air fryer for Christmas.
Yep. Burn your house down.
Which is
That's just the Discord joke. Yeah.
Which so far has been great. Makes fantastic chicken wings. But it is also psychologically traumatizing my dog because whatever frequency that it operates on has caused him to become horrified of the kitchen, which he has never been before. So even when I don't use it, even when I don't use it now, when I make breakfast, because I use it, it's a toaster oven / air fryer. Yeah, he knows that I'm going to be using it, and he starts shaking uncontrollably. It's very sad.
Interesting. I didn't realize they made. I guess that makes sense that they make noise. That I wasn't aware.
He's also weird. He's getting old, so he's getting all these weird proclivities he's never had before.
No, the one thing that we have upgraded, me and Amy got each other for Christmas. We bought like a nice coffee setup, and that's paying off. Ooh. That's paying off great dividends. The nice coffee maker and a bean grinder, and we subscribed to like a craft coffee subscription order, which has been nice.
That's fun. Yeah.
It's been tasty. But that's also delays my breakfast intake because I'm like, I got to make the coffee first, and it ruins everything.
That's something I've gone through over the years because when I started drinking decaf, I was on a quest to find the most non-decaf tasting decaf I could possibly acquire.
Yes. And
so I started grinding beans and French pressing shit, and I tried to kid myself into thinking that it didn't. I was fine with that, but eventually it was just like I just want to put the coffee in the thing and hit the button.
Yeah.
So I think Starbucks decaf that you buy at the grocery store, is my favorite one, and so it's just easy.
Like the bagged coffee.
Yeah, just house blend decaf.
How do they decaffeinate coffee? Must be a chemical reaction.
I think so. I think they sell it to Coca-Cola. I think coffee companies that decaffeinate their beans sell it to like Coca-Cola or something.
They sell the caffeine? They can bottle the caffeine? Interesting.
I could be wrong, but I thought I heard that somewhere along the way.
The coffee machine has been nice though. I do like nice coffee. And this thing gives us some nice coffee.
I think I could probably fuck with an espresso machine.
Yeah.
If I had the space for it, I bet I could get into that.
No, it's interesting. It makes a big difference. The coffee subscription, the beans are roasted fresh, so it's like says right on the bag when you get them, you grind them in the machine, smells nice and makes a decent cup of coffee. And our final thing here, Clay, I'm just going to go with something that I've been going on the Discord about. So I listened to Green Day's new album, which just came out last week. And I was curious what your thoughts were about how much does a band have to change itself? Is there a problem with the band not changing itself? Because the Green Day album is like a B plus of an album. It's like, it's fine. It's perfectly listenable. There's no song on there that you go like, what the hell is this? But you also just go, yeah, this sounds a lot like Green Day. And I think Green Day gets a little embarrassing with a band like Green Day, because you kind of at a certain point have to stop singing about, like, the opening track is called like something like The American Dream Has Forgotten Me or something. It's like, well, fellas, you're kind of like the embodiment of the American dream, I think, here in a way. Like, I don't really know if I can stretch it. So punk or like post-punk or like 90s revival punk or whatever can get a little embarrassing when the guys start getting like 50 years old and still haven't changed anything.
Yeah. It's the problem. It's the Rage Against the Machine problem, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, guys, you're kind of taking advantage of all the things that you were raging against here.
Well, because I went back and I listened to early Green Day. I was like, you're still talking about the same stuff, but it's much more acceptable coming from a 20-year-old. This is what your thought process is, and this kind of has an energy to it. But the modern Green Day stuff, you're a little bit too old to do it. But I didn't know if you had any thoughts about if I should hold this against Green Day. I kind of hold it against Green Day a little bit, because if you're like a revival of a genre, I find it hard to believe that you don't know what that genre evolved into, and your own development as a musician should probably push you in a similar direction as what happened there. Like, I question your mindset if you're still just playing 3 power chord 90s punk music. It just seems strange to do that for 30 years. It seems like anybody would want to do something different after that, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I don't know. Because like, would I really want to hear the jazz explorations of AC/DC or something? I was like, no. If you put on an AC/DC album, you know what you're going to get, and as long as it doesn't completely suck, you're having a good time, right? So that being said, I don't know
when was the last AC/DC album that came out, though, that was like you listened to?
5 years ago.
Okay.
I usually give them like one listen.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, because I think there are some bands that. So that being said, I think Green Day probably thinks of themselves a bit more of intellectual than something like AC/DC, or I think AC/DC knows what they're good at, and they do it, and it's fine. Same thing with like ZZ Top, right? There are some bands that they're good at the thing they do, and then they go out and they do it. So yeah, I think it depends on the band, honestly. Like Green Day has kind of at this point it's not a reinvention because it's been like 20 years, but they kind of reinvented themselves as like a quasi-political band.
Yes.
And it sounds like that's the thing that they're stuck in now, is they're doing the same kind of thing. So yeah, like the later era albums of bands I've listened to, I feel like you run into a problem, right? Because if they're different and they're unsuccessful, then you're going to say, I don't know why they didn't just stick to the thing they were good at.
Yeah.
And if they stick to the thing that they're good at and it's fine, then you run the risk of people saying, well, it's the same thing they always do.
Yeah.
So like, I will say the one, like I've listened to pretty much every Megadeth album in the past 20 years, and they're all kind of the same, and they're all fucking great. Like they're just like locked in to whatever the Megadeth sound is, and they just like every couple of years they come out with a new album and just rip it for 40 minutes or whatever.
Interesting.
Versus like Metallica, where I feel like Metallica has been searching for a sound since like the Black Album 30 years ago, and never quite really finding it, and the critical reception of it has kind of mirrored that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I don't really know what the answer is, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's mostly the Green Day one was surprising just because I haven't listened to their albums since like American Idiot, I suppose, would have been the last album that I like listened to. And
I
so
guess the question would be, what would you prefer them to sound like now?
I would prefer they had gone in some kind of, I don't know if it's a direction, but it's like, it's surprising to me that, and again, maybe they did this on the intermediate albums and no one liked it, but I don't think that's the case based on what I've heard from them. I just think that, like, I find it, you're making an intense choice if you play an instrument for 30 years and you do not really deviate stylistically from that. Like, that's like, I've been playing the drums for a while, and obviously falling off and stuff like that. But like, just as a matter of like you being super into music, your tastes are going to change across the 30 years. And I find they're making a very deliberate choice to not change and to be like exactly the same as what we were doing in 1994. And I find that I would much prefer a band try to push themselves and do, just to keep it interesting for yourselves. Like, be like, why don't we do, it doesn't have to be like a jazz standard album, but like, post-punk got more sparse. Like, there was like atmospheric stuff. Like, it's like the new wave of the 80s. Like, they started branching out. Even if Green Day just copied new wave bands from the 80s, they'd be like, well, this makes sense because this is kind of the development of what these bands do. So why not do that? But they didn't do that. They went through that modern post-punk revival of the early 2000s, and they're like, no, fuck it, we're not copying this. We're just going to do our own thing. And now it's just your 50-year-old doing the same thing. And I feel surprised that you're not changing yourselves.
I would also wonder, like, I've always been curious of bands that have been around for 30 plus years who are still putting out new albums. Like, who are they really for?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who have bought and listened to every album Paul McCartney has put out in 60 years.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it's that many people,
Well, and also
like I was just saying, I always kind of just got the feeling like new albums at a certain point became an excuse to tour. And
Green Day's
you really
tour
need that anymore.
Coming up is going to be, they're going to play Dookie and American Idiot in their entireties. So that's the tour. So, I mean, it tells you something.
Oh, so they're not even playing stuff on the new album.
No.
Yeah. That's what sort of inspired by the Patreon we did about the Police, the discography of the Police. I recently went through and I listened to Billy Joel's entire discography.
Yeah.
And I was shocked to realize he has not put out an album of pop music in 30 years.
Yeah.
And I guess at the time when River of Dreams, which is his last album, came out, he kind of was like, yeah, I think this is probably the last one. But he's been touring consistently ever since.
Play the hits.
Yeah. And so he kind of figured it out where it's like, I don't need to do the hard part. I could just do the easy part.
Yeah, which I respect too. I mean, if you're not going to break up the band, just do the thing. Yeah, Peter Gabriel's kind of the same. Gabriel only just came out with an album last year, I think, and it was the first one in 20-something years of original material. He had a couple. What is it?
No, go ahead.
He had his album before that was like an orchestral version of his songs, so it's like they consider it original, but it's not really original.
Yeah, I was going to say, although I think I might have picked a good time to do it because I did see something the other day that Billy Joel has a new song that he's going to be coming out with pretty soon.
Oh, nice.
So he might be getting back on the horse.
Billy Joel, Green Day.
Very confusing when I was a child, yes.
Very confusing, yeah. It's interesting.
I will say my observations of the Billy Joel discography really falls off about 1985. He kind of runs out of steam.
What album is that?
He does the doo-wop album, which is Innocent Man, I think it's called.
What's the
what it is?
album? What's the album
on,
where
let
he's
me
like standing in front of a building?
He does that a few times.
Does he on the album art? Hold on.
In 52nd Street, he's standing in front of a building. Glass Houses, he's standing in front of a building.
I think it's Glass. Where the hell is this album? Holy cow, he's got a lot of albums here.
Fewer than you'd think.
I can't find it. Oh, it's this one, Glass Houses.
Glass Houses.
That's it,
That album's really good.
Yeah,
I will say that's a great album.
Yeah, that's his good album, I think. Yeah,
So Innocent Man is the one where he like starts doing a lot of 50s throwback stuff.
yeah.
And that's the last one that's good. The rest of them, The Bridge and Stormfront are both pretty lame. River of Dreams feels really tapped out except for like
Uptown
2 or 3
Girl is
songs.
on Innocent Man. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Innocent Man has a few good songs on it. Bridge has Matter of Trust, which is really good. That's basically it for that one. Stormfront has We Didn't Start the Fire and Downeaster Alexa, which are both pretty good, and Leningrad, which is all right. But aside from that, they're pretty. You can feel him running out of steam.
Yeah. The great thing about that era of music is that it's all vinyl LP and it's all 8-song 45-minute albums, and it's like this is perfect.
Yes.
Like I don't need anything more than this. Even a bad album, it's over in 30 minutes.
The most interesting thing I discovered was a couple things. On his very first album, Cold Spring Harbor, he's got a song called Tomorrow Is Today, which is this like quiet piano ballad. And in the middle of it, he just starts singing like Axl Rose for some reason.
Nice.
Like that Axl Rose, like his low register, like
His
Mr. Brownstone Axl Rose, or Knocking on Heaven's Door. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And also, the thing that kicked this off was my mother had his album, The Nylon Curtain, on LP, so I brought it home and I listened to it. And that's a pretty good album. The first half is really good. It has Allentown and Goodnight Saigon and Pressure on it. And then the rest of the songs are like weirdly Beatles style rips.
Yep.
And I was like, what the fuck is this thing? And then I looked it up, and apparently The Nylon Curtain is a concept album about baby boomers.
Oh.
So the stylistic choices are on purpose as some sort of like, this was the music that he listened to at the time. I don't know. It's some weird choice. But
is it like the aging of the boomers generation or something?
I think so. Yeah. Something like that. He seems very obsessed with his own generation.
Yeah.
Across his own career.
Not a huge Billy Joel fan, really. Yeah, just not.
I was when I was a kid
because.
Yeah, I was when I was a kid when I was a piano player, but a lot of his stuff can be kind of cheesy. But
yeah.
I will say, Glass House is a good album.
I guess that's it. Let us know what you guys think about whether or not those albums make sense. You can check out our Police Rate the Albums at Patreon. And that's about it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week with Mortal Coil and additional content after that. We will see you then. See ya.